Hey, what's up, everyone? Adrian here, and thank you so much for taking the time to jump on my episode 3. Today's episode is going to be on goals, and I'm really going to focus more on career goals and sales goals, and not really personal goals, although personal goals are very important and they're very prominent out there. I'm going to focus today's episode on career goals. So I hope you enjoy. This is one of my favorite podcasts I've recorded so far. And again, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. So thanks again and enjoy. What's up, everyone? Adrian here, and thank you for jumping on to today's episode. Today, I'm going to talk about goals, and it's really going to be more focused on career goals and sales goals because goals are everywhere, right? Whether at work, personal. I think just the most popular form of goals is personal goals, right? We all have New Year's resolutions, right? We want to lose X amount of weight. We want to lift X amount of weight. We want to read X amount of books, make X amount of money. There's a limitless amount of goals out there on a personal side. But today I'm going to focus more on the professional side, on the sales side, specific to really a number goal that we all have, with our organizations. But before I start, I do want to say I love this topic of goals. It's challenging to cover because there's so many different ways that you can cover it, and there's so many people that do it very well. But I did listen to a recent speaker. His name is Emmanuel Acho. He's got a show on FS1 called Speak for Yourself, and he just came out and said goals are dumb. So this kind of intrigued me. I was like, okay, goals are dumb. We've always been taught since we were little to have a goal, to shoot for a goal, to create goals, right? Because it creates, right, an end game, right? It creates a target that we're aiming towards. But what he meant by goals are dumb is that sometimes it can be viewed as limitations. And what I mean by that is, say, for example, you say, hey, I want to read 5 books this year. And it comes July and you're done with reading 5 books. In your mind, your goal has been met. So therefore, you're done, right? I'm done reading 5 books. I don't need to do anything else because I hit my goal. Instead of looking at it as a goal as final, right? He talks about setting objectives with no limitations, right? So now if you have the objective of, hey, I'm going to read 5 books this year, that's my objective for the year, is reading 5 books. So then when it comes July, you read your 5 books. Right now, you're like, man, I'm going to read another one. I'm going to read another one. And maybe by the end of the year, you end up reading 10 books. And then the next year, you can adjust your objectives just based on what you did that year. But it's not setting limitations on yourself. And sometimes setting goals can create limitations because goals, it becomes so final once you hit it. It should be looked at as an objective. So I thought that was really cool. I just wanted to bring that up before I get started on actual professional goals. So switching gears to your career, right, to your sales goals. We all work for a sales organization, whatever industry we're in. We all have a number that we have to hit at the end of the year, right? Some of us are based on commission, right? Some of us have a base plus a base plus a bonus structure. And some of us are bonused a little bit differently, but ultimately it comes down to one thing, right? We each have a goal that we have to hit annually where we can make the amount of compensation that we want, and also grow our market to where we want it to be, take enough market share to where we want it to be. So goals are wrapped into all of that. And companies that do very well, and companies that keep their employees and have a low retention rate, a high retention rate, and don't have a lot of turnover and recruit a lot of people, are companies that invest in their sales reps and collaborate with them on how their market is doing so that they can set a realistic goal on an annual basis, so that they can set a goal that's attainable, realistic, and it doesn't demotivate the sales rep. Because one thing an unrealistic goal can really do is demotivate you as a sales rep. If you have a goal that's super unattainable, it's really hard to stay motivated throughout the year, because you're not going to hit that. You can do anything possible. You're not going to hit that because it's an unattainable, unrealistic goal. And that's the best way to discourage sales reps and to lose sales reps from your company. So some companies do this very well and some companies don't. So I'm hoping you're at a company that does well, collaborates with you, works on that. that goal with you. I am fortunate to work for an organization that listens, that takes my advice, takes my input. We do collaborate on what the market looks like, what I believe um, we can do as far as volume the next year, and they create my goal based on the conversations that I've had with them. So I'm fortunate to be in that situation. So now that we have a goal, right? So I'm just going to use a number as an example. I'm going to use 4 million as an example for an annual goal, right? So if your goal, say next year or this year, 4 million, right? How are you going to get there? Now there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. I'm going to share with you my way, what works, and what's allowed me to have success in the past. There are also a lot of sales reps that rely on hope and a prayer when they get that goal. They go out and try and win as many projects and rely on winning projects and getting orders to hit that goal, as opposed to developing some sort of strategy to know that they can hit that goal more effectively than hoping to win a ton of projects. Because even though you get a ton of projects in a year, there's no saying that there's no guarantee that you're going to win all of them. You may have a 60% win rate one year, but then the next year you can have a 20%, a 10% win rate, and that affects your ability to reach your goal. So developing a process to attain that goal will help get rid of those roller coaster years that you have. So 4 million is my goal. What I like to do from there, right? Here's my goal. I like to chop it up into bits and pieces. So what I usually say is I like to look at it from a bird's eye view. So here's 4 million, right? All right. So what do I need to do on a quarterly basis to get to that annual 4 million? So now I split that 4 million into quarters, because I played football, high school, college. So, to me, it's like 4 quarters in a game. So for me, what do I have to do the first quarter to get to the amount that I need to, second, third, fourth, to ultimately get to that goal, right? And then from there, once you have them split into quarterly goals, now you can start creating initiatives and creating monthly goals to know, hey, this is the amount of volume I'd like to do on a monthly basis to hit my quarterly goal, to then hit my overall annual goal. So that's kind of the overall basic structure on how I go about strategizing on how to hit my goal. I break it down into bits and pieces. I dissect it, give a bird's eye view, whatever you want to call it. But from there, this is when the details happen, right? This is where the dedication happens right here. So now that you have your basic process in place, your basic structure, you want to create a cadence in how you can stay on track to your goal, right? So now you've split it up. Develop a cadence. Now I just call mine the sales cadence. It's the cadence in which I go about sales. So it's really 3 categories. Number 1 is numbers, number 2 is funnel, and number 3 is activity. For those of you who've been in sales for a while, you know that those 3 are essential and work with one another. If one is low, then the other is not going to be great. So each of them have to work in sync to be able to get to your overall goal. So let's start with number 1, right? Your numbers. You always want to know where you're at from a revenue standpoint, right? So if it's March, right, or April, you want to know, hey, how much revenue have I brought in so far? So you know where you're at after that first quarter, right? Now I know where I'm at towards my annual goal. Did I hit my quarterly goal? No matter where you're at, what month of the year, what week you're in, you want to know what your revenue is. I like to look at my reports on a weekly basis. I want to see where my revenue is at on a weekly basis, because once you take a look at where you're at, now you can take a look at your future. So your future is your funnel, right? So here's your numbers, and then here's your funnel, which tells what your future is going to look like, right? So your funnel is going to tell you, and I like to put percentages on all my projects and opportunities, because if they're 80% or more, it gives me a good visibility as, okay, this is the amount of volume that I could expect in the next few months. So I know what I'm projecting, or vice versa, right? If there's a 10, 20% chance of winning those, I know just not to account for them. And if they do end up winning, it's more a cherry on top, right? It's more of a bonus versus the ones that are sure thing. So now that I know where I'm at currently, where I'm at future, you can really tell how your year is going so far. So say it's July, right? And your revenue is low. Your goal is 4 million, but your revenue is really only at 1.3, 1.5, just shy of halfway, to 2 million. But now you can look at your funnel and say, wow, my funnels, I got, 3 million in my funnel, and the 80% projects, I got about close to 2 million of them are 80% to close. So now I like to take a look at it and be like, hey, at 1.5, 2 million. So I could be projecting 3.5 million. So I know I did a lot of math there, but essentially I'm at 1.5. My funnel says 3, but 80%, the 80% close rate projects are at 2 million. So which means overall I could project 3.5 million. So I'm in a good shape. Now on the flip side of that, right? Say I'm at only 1.5 million and my funnel it may be at 3 million, but 3 million of those are 20% close rates, right? 20% chance of closing. Now I'm in big trouble because I'm at 1.5. I don't have a lot in the funnel to show for. I have to get lucky on one of these projects. So now I need to take a look at my activity. So that's that third category, right? If most likely my activity is low, if this is where I'm at, revenue's down, funnel's down, I haven't been making enough calls, right? I haven't been doing enough presentations. I haven't been doing enough tours. In my industry, right, I sell office furniture, so I rely a lot on showroom tours, events, calls, trainings. So if I'm not doing those activities, then I'm not going to be getting the amount of projects that I need to go and then close those projects. So take a look at your activity if those other two categories are low. Now, if your activity is high, then that should help then your funnel get more projects, and then vice versa, then should help your revenue grow from there. So always take a look at those three categories: your revenue, your opportunities, and your activity. If one is low, most likely the other one is weak. So make sure you're doing all the right stuff and the activities, and keep track of the ROI with each activity that you do, so that you're getting the most bang for your buck with the time that you're putting in. I have a separate podcast episode that I'm doing on just activity, same with funnel management, and also same with revenue management. And so those will be coming. There'll be a series coming down the road, but I just wanted to at least explain that to you at a high level as it relates to your goal. So the most important part about having a goal, if there's anything you took away from today, is we all have goals, right? Is make sure you have a good process that you can stay on top of getting to your goal. Okay. And you need to track that process on a weekly basis, not monthly, not quarterly. Track it weekly so you can always know where you stand, so you can adjust your plan as you go. And so again, anything you take away from today, have a process in place, enjoy that process, make it your own. I have my own process called the Sales Cadence. If you need any help in developing a process, please feel free to reach out. Happy to help you. But it works for me, helps me stay on track, and it takes the stress out of selling, because nobody likes a stressful sales rep, right? If you are far away from your goal, you become desperate, you become a stressful sales rep, and customers get that. And it takes away from your brand, from making it your own, from buying it. It takes away from all the topics that I talk about is when you're stressful selling. So goals is one of the most important things. Is setting a realistic goal, setting a process to hit that realistic goal, and staying on top of that process so that you can get to your goal, make the amount of compensation that you would like, and also continue to grow your market, which grows the overall company. So thanks again for your time. Again, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, and happy selling. See ya.